always get reminded of the loss with Asma's passing away when I'm in these events, and this is not rhetorical. हर दफ़ा मुझे लगता है कि एक ally, एक बहुत ही strategic और काबिल ally we lost, क्योंकि I feel like even in the women's rights movement and among the activists, she used to shine as a person who was able to understand the activist sides as well as the government side, and was strategically able to bridge that gap to the welfare of the women, to the empowerment, to the objective of the empowerment of the women. So it is a big loss, and I feel encouraged that Sulema, Nida, Manije, they're all taking forward the work, and I would like to thank you for that. So, frankly, I don't have anything very specific to tell you, but I want to take this opportunity to identify 3 kinds of gaps in the justice system. Because we've heard a lot about how injustices are being meted out, what are the problems, and access to justice being the cornerstone of rights and freedoms, it is important that we not only understand the challenge, but also identify some of the solutions. So from my review of what the problems are and where are we standing, I felt like there are 3 fundamental gaps in the justice system or the access to justice machinery. One of them has been talked extensively, but I'll still take a moment to talk about it, which is the information gap. Information gap is a big problem. Nida talked about the fact that I was working at the Commission on the Status of Women earlier on, and that was an opportunity to understand the extent of the information gap. And that information gap, I would like to remind you, is not limited to the citizens. लोगों को तो नहीं पता. Clearly, they don't know their rights, and we are talking about know your rights. But it is also the duty bearers, the service providers who sometimes do not know, And in that I speak from experience. I think the chairperson of the Women Protection Authority is here. Welcome, madam. So in that, what I'm saying is that recently we conducted trainings for marriage registrars, nikah registrars. And in that training, we found that over 50% were not aware of the amendments in the law, amendments in the family law. 50% को पता ही नहीं था कि family laws में क्या amendments हुई हैं, जिसके तहत निकाह रजिस्ट्रार की क्या जिम्मेदारी है, गवर्नमेंट यूनियन काउंसिल के सेक्रेटरी की क्या जिम्मेदारी है, माँ बाप की क्या जिम्मेदारी है. About 70% had had no training before that. So they did not know what changes had come. I think we are fortunate to have 3 MPAs with us already. So hope that they're going to find this conversation, hi Bushra, we're going to find this conversation useful. For those who've just joined, I'm just going to recap that we are talking about the gaps in the justice system, which are a problem in the access to justice. पहला मैंने information gap की बात बताई है, उसमें I want to specifically talk about, and I am talking about the information gap to the service, by the service provider. हमारे निकाह registrars को नहीं पता family laws में क्या changes आए हैं. कई दफ़ा हमारे judges भी जो हैं, उनको भी बहुत जो latest amendment है, उनका नहीं पता होता या उसके extent का नहीं पता होता. So therefore that gap needs to be recognized fully. Police does not know. Police for a long time was moving on the premise कि रेप का कानून जो है वो नहीं बदला और जो पहले की प्रोविजंस थी वही हैं. ऑनर क्राइम से रिलेटेड जो अमेंडमेंट्स आई हैं उनको नहीं पता थी. सो वी नीड टू हेल्प देम अंडरस्टैंड और द फैक्ट दैट देयर इज़ अ वायलेंस अगेंस्ट वुमेन अथॉरिटी जो कि जिसका एक कानून है और वो उसके तहत काम करता है. सो दिस इज़ रिलेटेड टू द इंफॉर्मेशन गैप. इट्स a problem. The second gap that I want to identify is the institutional and infrastructural gap, Institutional का मतलब बहुत सारे ऐसे इदारे हैं, lots of institutions which we need or which we need to know of are not there or are underperforming. For example, a mechanism like the Violence Against Women Center is something that is required in every district. And it's a great thing that it has started in Punjab to begin with, and there are plans to take it forward, but we need it in every district of Punjab as the law says. Similarly, we need women's desks in institutions. We need women's desks in police so that the women are comfortable going and talking to women who are considered to be more sympathetic and a little more respectful also. We need specified windows in the courts. I have dealt with the courts in various capacities, and I know that it's a confusing environment. It's a very, very complex environment. You don't know which court to go to, and when a woman is going from one court to the other, or when she's supposed to reach a court, including myself, it's a jungle out there, and it's all men, so who do you ask? You know, आप किससे पूछेंगे कौन से जज की अदालत कहाँ पे लगी हुई है? And I'm talking about the High Court. I was just thinking when I was dealing with that if there was a window where I could have gone and asked, भाई कौन सा जज कहाँ बैठे? Just the lay of the court system. And I'm sure it's a problem for men and women both. But for women, it is more intimidating because she hesitates to deal with the men over there. She needs to go to the washroom. Even in the High Court, you have such few facilities for a woman to go to the washroom, let alone district courts. You know, there is the mobility constraint, etc. All of these can easily be taken care of, but they are not. Linked to that, the institution and the information gap, we don't know about the fact that that Punjab government passed the Punjab Legal Aid Act in 2018, which is related to family matters primarily. We don't know about that, you know, and it is still, it requires operationalization, so we need to use that mechanism. And I think, finally, I would say that there is the legislative gap also. We still require legislation on important matters. For example, there is no protection for women financial protection for women in marriage. There is no concept of maintenance upon divorce for women, a concept which is practiced in many other Muslim countries, the concept of matatu talaq, which means that for a specified period, and countries have come up with their own formula, for a specified period, a woman who has been divorced requires financial protection, and she needs to be supported through that period, because we've seen, and in our data also we've seen that a lot of women are divorced arbitrarily through no fault of their own, just because, you know, the husband wants to get married to someone younger, prettier, richer perhaps, I don't know. So if that happens through no fault of hers, she is left high and dry, and because she is financially so dependent, she doesn't know what to do, because she has spent all her life, at times 30 to 40 years, just looking after the household. Sometimes bright women with a lot of education, and your doctors, your engineers, have chosen to stay at home, look after the house, but have nothing to show for it. And then there is, of course, linked to that, there is no concept of matrimonial property. So if you are getting divorced, whatever you put into the marriage, out of which came assets, because of your contribution also, don't count for anything. You walk away with nothing. So we need legislative improvement and legislative enactments for that also. I alluded to the fact that there's no data. We do not have gender disaggregated data, despite the sustainable development goals which we talk about so much, which requires data disaggregation at multiple levels. वो कहता है gender को से disaggregate करें, मर्दों औरतों से disaggregate करें, वो कहते हैं region wise करें, income levels के साथ करें. We do not have data to begin with. Forget about disaggregation. It's a good thing that all the provinces are moving towards data collection and data disaggregation, but we have a long way off. And the prison system that I was talking about does not have a centralized database. So you don't know on a given day, unless you call the superintendent of a particular prison, कि आज कितनी औरतें, how many women are there, you know, how many children are there. They do have manual records of that, and now they are putting them on computers, but there's no, where there is data, it is not collated. There are no centralized systems of data that we have. So finally, what are the solutions? Are the solutions extremely cumbersome? क्या हमें बहुत ज़्यादा पैसे लगाने पड़ेंगे to increase the access to justice? Maybe yes. यहाँ पे जो lawyers बैठे हुए हैं, prosecutors बैठे हुए हैं, the judges who are sitting there, they know they are overburdened. We know that in Lahore, perhaps the judge to case ratio is about 2,000 cases per judge, and they are human. They can't deal effectively with all these cases. But is it only that? You know, is it only the fact that the judge to case ratio is high, or is it the fact that जो आपकी excessive adjournments हैं उनको और भी तरीके से control किया जा सकता है? Is it also a fact that a woman who doesn't have the financial means, her case doesn't get priority, and perhaps shouldn't if it's a fair justice system? So she suffers the most because she doesn't have the means to withstand the travails of the justice system. And apart from that, the numbers. You know, among the judges, we know we have in the Lahore High Court 2 women judges. In the Supreme Court, we have no women judges. In Punjab, we have about 16 women lawyers, so women judges, 16% women judges. We have about 10% prosecutors. We need to increase the number. Police 3% से कम है. Pakistan में police is about, women police are about 1% only. So we need to increase those numbers for us to be able to go to the women, like the paralegals were saying, and talk to them, you know. We would also like to have better coordination among the various state agencies. It's a simple solution, and I have practiced that for the past 5, 6 years. Sometimes I found great allies and great supports in the state system. No additional cost was required. It was only a problem of the lack of coordination among the agencies. So for example, if a woman reports violence, she calls the police. The police has a fairly good system, but she's still unable, you know, she needs instant help. The police may or may not come to her rescue. There is a helpline, dedicated helpline for women. They take her call, they realize that we need to do something immediately. Bring in your political system. There are counselors in every union council and now in every village panchayat and neighborhood council. Use their help. Go to that household, find out what's wrong. Then you pull in your bar councils to take up the case. You bring in your police and make sure that they respond to women as effectively and persons who are marginalized as effectively as others. Have better coordination with the shelters. Let people know more. I feel like these little measures are going to add up to much better service to the marginalized communities and especially for women on whom I wanted to focus today. Thank you very much.